10 Best Marvel Supervillains of All Time. We rank the ultimate top 10 best Marvel supervillains ever to appear in comics. Who are the best Marvel supervillains? It's a loaded question given how many Marvel villains there are in total, but we've taken it upon ourselves to break it down into the top 10 Marvel villains of all time. We've tallied the choices made by numerous Newsarama staffers and ranked them in this list, so don't worry, this is a scientific article and objectively the correct order, kidding. Without further ado, here are the greatest Marvel villains of all time. 1. Thanos. Before catching the briefest glimpse of Thanos in the end credits of the Avengers film, most mainstream audiences probably hadn't even heard of the Mad Titan. But longtime Marvel readers know him as the cosmic badass who long possessed the reality-altering Infinity Gauntlet, and who slew half the universe, including many Marvel heroes, before his misdeeds were undone. Now, thanks to his starring role in Avengers, Infinity War and Endgame, Thanos is not just seen as Marvel's biggest villain, but he's a household name in his own right, even recreating his cosmically catastrophic Infinity Gauntlet snap to murder half the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just as he did in Marvel Comics. 2. Dr. Doom. Though his profile has waned somewhat in recent years thanks to a turn as a reluctant hero, the fan-favorite Dr. Doom has returned to villainy in the recent Fantastic Four relaunch, resuming his rightful place in the hierarchy of Marvel's villainous pyramid. Doom is the smartest man in the Marvel Universe, yes, even smarter than his hated enemy Reed Richards, but like all great villains, his hubris blinds him to his own potential. Not content with mastering only science, Doom is also one of the most powerful magic users in the Marvel Universe, and was once considered a rival to Doctor Strange for the title of Sorcerer Supreme. Despite never having received a proper film adaptation in 3 movie appearances and 2 separate franchises, Dr. Doom remains a presence in the cultural zeitgeist, his very name synonymous with villainy even to those who don't read comic books. 3. Loki. For many years, Loki was almost the primary villain of the Marvel Universe, menacing not just his brother the mighty Thor, but many of Marvel's other big names, even leading to the formation of the Avengers. It is, therefore, appropriate that he also took that role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a turn that has made Tom Hiddleston a star, and made Loki almost more popular among some fans than the heroes he opposes. These days, in comic books, Loki is technically dead, though he's got a new series coming up that pre-announced his resurrection. And, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Hiddleston is about to headline his own Disney Plus Loki TV series. 4. Magneto. Magneto has straddled the line between hero and villain over and over again since his introduction in the 60s, and his current status quo places him somewhere in the gray area between the 2 extremes, but in his villainous days Magneto has often been one of Marvel's most truthless villains. It's Magneto's dichotomy that makes him so compelling, and so effective as a villain. It's hard not to sympathize with Magneto knowing his suffering at the hands of the Nazis, and understanding that his extreme views have often been pursued while attempting to build a future for mutant kind. Still, it's then almost impossible to identify with Magneto in his role as a mutant terrorist, often undertaking schemes so vile and deadly as to be almost unforgivable. As a character, Magneto also has a higher profile than many of his enemies in the X-Men, having starred in 4 films, and made cameos in others. Now, it seems Magneto's allegiances are shifting again. He's been seen as both a villain and alongside Charles Xavier in recent months. 5. Green Goblin, Norman Osborn. In recent years, Norman Osborn has caused more trouble under his own name than that of his grinning, cackling alter ego, even posing an Avengers-level threat, and most recently, becoming the Red Goblin, a carnage-infused version of the Green Goblin. But before all that, Norman Osborn was secretly the Green Goblin, one of Spider-Man's greatest foes, and not only the man who killed Peter Parker's true love, Gwen Stacy, but also, in his secret identity, the father of Peter's best friend Harry Osborn. Norman Osborn's apparent death at that time led to several others taking on the mantle of the Green Goblin, and the Goblin's true identity was a mystery for years prior to these events. 6. Dr. Octopus. Until fairly recently, the long-running but sometimes silly Dr. Octopus might have been considered a B-list villain at best, despite often functioning as Spider-Man's archenemy. Under Dan Slott's guidance, Doc Ock earned that title once again, enacting numerous schemes that threatened not only Spider-Man but the entire world, culminating in an act that almost no other villains in Marvel Comics have accomplished. He actually finished off his nemesis. That's right. As most of you know, Doc Ock's final scheme was transferring his consciousness into Peter Parker's body, trapping Peter's mind in Ock's own dying form. In this feat, he actually succeeded, going on to take over Peter's life and his role as Spider-Man. Though Peter eventually defeated Dr. Octopus once and for all, and returned to his role as Spider-Man, many of the things Doc Ock did while under the mask are still affecting his life. Otto Octavius is back now, and once again operating as the superior Spider-Man, it seems relegating his Dr. Octopus identity for his evil life. 7. Ultron. Despite being best known in recent years for the time-spanning crossover Age of Ultron, from which Ultron himself was conspicuously absent for much of it, Hank Pym's ill-fated creation has a history which runs much deeper, and far more deadly than that crossover. In the years since his creation, Ultron has menaced the Avengers time and again, perhaps even becoming their primary nemesis. Ultron can never be truly destroyed, never truly defeated, owing to his computerized consciousness and nigh indestructible body. Many non-comic readers got their introduction to Ultron as the villain of Avengers, Age of Ultron, played by James Spader. 8. Galactus. Supposedly created when Jack Kirby and Stan Lee pondered what would happen if the Fantastic Four encountered God, the world-eating Galactus quickly became one of the greatest threats ever encountered in the Marvel Universe, often uniting various heroes and even villains when his boundless hunger draws him to the life force-rich Earth. Galactus was transformed into a life-bringer for several years, but has since reverted to his original world-eating form. 9. Red Skull. By far the oldest villain on this list, the Red Skull is emblematic of far too many aspects of villainy to list. Never wavering from the Nazi ideals he has espoused since World War II was still being waged, the Red Skull is the absolute counterpoint to Captain America, Marvel's moral center, and provides just about everybody someone to hate. Red Skull's biggest moment in recent memory when he instigated Captain America's turn to Hydra, thanks to a cosmic cube and some time travel, which culminated in the Secret Empire event. Red Skull perished as a result of his own manipulation, but his evil Steve Rogers clone still lives on. 10. Dark Phoenix. Despite appearing in earnest in only one major story arc, the Dark Phoenix, Jean Grey type, was the central villain in what is, arguably, the most iconic X-Men story ever produced. Partially owing to Jean Grey's prior status as a heroine, and to her destruction of an entire galaxy, the Dark Phoenix remains one of the most shocking and effective villains of Marveldom. More recently, the Phoenix Force returned to reunite with the younger, time-tossed Jean Grey, a story which resulted in the return of the older Jean, who banished the Phoenix from her life forever.